Welcome to the Creative Blood Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Conway. If you've ever wanted a backstage pass into the world of creativity from the best in the business, this one's for you. Get ready to hear genuine conversations with the artists, entrepreneurs, and creative minds who know no boundaries. Here we go.
When I first watched Control in Cannes, I continually thought about the journey, that final countdown of like the screen goes black and then there it is, and there's nothing like it.
That's Orian Williams, Oscar-nominated producer and die-hard music lover who over the last 20 years has brought to life some of cinema's top indie and cult favourite movies, including England Is Mine, Big Sur, Shadow of the Vampire, and the multi-award-winning Joy Division biopic Control. Get ready to hear Hollywood stories that will leave you beaming from ear to ear, right through to Orian's refreshing take on why it's so important to enjoy the journey of making movies, despite all the curveballs that come down the tracks. Forget the glitz and the glamour. This episode is all about persistence and passion, backed by Orian's unapologetic love of rock and roll, black and white photography, and film. If you ever wondered how movies really get made and why having a producer like Orian Williams is your golden ticket, you're about to find out. With his latest project Creation Stories about the infamous Creation Records label head Alan McGee hitting our screens, and as he's about to make his directorial debut on the official biopic of Jeff Buckley, Everybody Wants You, there's no doubt why, in the words of his mentor, the legendary Godfather producer Robert Evans, this kid stays in the picture. I would love to ask you if you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself in your own words.
100%. I am Orian Williams. Alfred Orian Williams II is the full name, but I always went by Orian, so it was never a choice for me. Born in Mississippi, raised in Texas, Houston, and my journey started, I think, really when I was in middle school as a shy kid trying to figure out what I wanted, and things started kind of coming to me in a way that was unexpected. I think music and film and photography and literature and loving England and Europe and different places around the world other than Houston sort of led me on this journey to where I am today. And I think I'm the kind of guy that is, it's hard to describe yourself now that you've asked me this question, but there's so many things that make up who I am. But truly the essence of it is I'm, just a kid from Mississippi, raised by a single mother. I have no siblings. I met my father a couple times. My stepfather was around for a while. My mom raised me. So I was kind of, on my own for a lot of time while she worked and had this great job. And I think on my own, I think as an only kid, you start to figure out things on your own and what really motivates you and inspires you. I think reading certainly did that. Music was the biggest escape for me, for sure.
Yeah. And
I think that just molded me into the person that I am today, which is still that same kid that, pinches myself when I'm sitting with someone that when I was 17, I looked up to, and now we're great friends.
I've heard you say that what you do and who you are pretty much the same thing. That really resonates with me. I feel exactly the same. And it's a very strange thing to say out loud, because I think for a lot of people, there's an element of wanting to sort of detach from who you are in one world and and like, for example, your working world, you have a certain hat for that. And then your sort of private world, or what you enjoy on the inside, is very different to what you sort of enjoy and go into battle for on the outside sometimes. But could you explain that a little bit? Because my sense is that you're living and breathing creativity, and you have done since the moment that you landed here.
Yeah.
Like a sponge,
100%. The sponge is a great word for it. I honestly, I don't have a separation of who I am personally and who I am in my work world, as you well noted. I mean, it kind of blends together in such a beautiful way. I'm not, I don't look at work as a job. I don't look at work as back to the old grind, 9 to 5. It's shifted. I mean, I had a couple of certain day jobs where I was in a cubicle. I remember I lived in Los Angeles for about 5 years. I worked my way up through the commercial production ranks, and we're working with some incredible directors, from the Coen brothers to Michael Solomon to Peter Nigel, who's passed away. I mean, various people that were, and next door was Ridley and Tony Scott. And I thought, oh my gosh, those guys are next door. And I'm here in this world, but I'm making commercials. And I just wanted to be either working with them or just get out completely. And it led me back to Houston. I left in 95, and I took a job that was in the commercial, in the concert promotion world. And it was literally in a cubicle surrounded by a little exit with a computer that didn't really work and a bunch of paperwork and some file cabinets. And it was such a structured, boring job in the midst of, in the arena of concerts and promotion, which seemed exciting, but it was so boring and just so businessy. And I knew that I don't want another job. I want to just create something within. And people gave me some advice when I first moved to Los Angeles. They said, don't wait for someone to knock on the door. You may wait forever, and that opportunity may come, but go knock on other people's doors. Go kind of, bang down the door of other people in a very polite way, and create your own destiny. The story for Shadow the Vampire came together in a very specific way related to what I just said. Nicolas Cage, I had heard the actor was a fan of this director that I was representing, this young filmmaker who'd made one film that no one saw. It was this artistic, beautiful film called Begotten. And I thought, oh my gosh, this guy might be the guy, my ticket. This might be the guy that I attach myself to and run with. And the Coen brothers had given me some advice. They said, find a young filmmaker, someone you believe in, and attach yourself to them and you'll rise with them. And I thought, okay. And the next day, literally, I met this guy, Elias, at some weird screening who was visiting from New York of his film, Begotten. It was terribly disturbing, this film, but beautiful and haunting, something I'd never seen before. So I thought, wow, let's try to, set up a screening and wait for some people to get in touch with us, and we'll see what happens. I started representing him. But waiting was not the answer. So then I thought, who really loves this guy? Werner Herzog was a fan. Susan Sontag was a fan. And Nicolas Cage was a fan. And I thought, I'm going to find Nicolas Cage. I'm going to get in touch with him. And I'd met him once, but I didn't know him. I didn't even know how to get a hold of him. And I called his agent and his manager and his publicist and you name it. And eventually I found out he had a production company. And I called the company and they were just not hearing any of it. They had no interest in hearing what I had to say. They were more or less a barrier, a wall, a filter of insane people that were probably calling to get an autograph or just meet him. And I couldn't get through to the right person. This receptionist had no interest in me, almost dismissive to an extreme. So I finally thought, you know what? I'm going to call a different extension within that number. So I just added a different number at the end and I got another guy. And this other guy was like, hello? And I'm like, yeah, is this Saturn Films? He's like, yeah, who's this? I go, I'm Orian. I'm calling to speak to Nick about this film that apparently he likes. He goes, wait, Orian, first of all, are you the one that's calling the front desk? Because you have to change your name because Orian's a pretty familiar name. And I'm like, right, yeah. He goes, look, I'm Jeff. I run his company. I'm the president of Saturn Films. What film are you talking about? And I said, well, it's this weird film called Begotten. I don't even know if Nick's seen it or not, but I heard he did. And he goes, wait, are you talking about the film that's sitting right in front of me right now? The one that I was going to make calls on today and try to find him? I'm not joking. And I went, I think so. And he goes, can we meet tonight? And I said, yeah. And he brought Nick. I brought my director. And that started the film Shadow the Vampire. And it was kind of like, wow, I can create these opportunities. I mean, people are not always receptive, but when you have something you're passionate about and something that's in you that you have to get out, you find a way. It finds you. I mean, every film I've ever done specifically Control, as well as Big Sur, the Kerouac film, every one of them. Jeff Buckley, the one I'm directing, all those had that moment of like going to the next level in some insane way that you can't believe. You truly can't believe it.
Could you please share the story of how you got to meet Robert Evans for the first time?
I'd left Los Angeles in 95. I spent 2 years away. I was in Houston working at that concert promoting company, and I met a lot of bands. It was a lot of fun, but it wasn't music for me. It took all the passion out of it. So then I went to New York. I was there probably 4 or 5 months, and it just didn't feel right for me. I like New York. I didn't want to live there. And I was looking for my career, my future, and not just a day job. So I left there, and my mom had relocated from Houston to Mississippi, where she was raised and born, where I was born as well. And I thought, I'm just going to go live with her for a while and figure out my life and, work out in our ranch and just do some stuff. And I did. And over the course of probably a year, I started producing commercials locally. And I thought, man, I'm doing the same thing I was doing in LA. Do I want to be in Mississippi? Do I want to be in Los Angeles? Where do I want to be? And a few other crazy stories that had come up led me back to Los Angeles. And I guess it was 97. Driving back to Los Angeles, had some car trouble in Louisiana, and I pulled over to a truck stop, and then I had to get some more serious work. And so there was a BMW dealership down the road, so I went there, and they're like, well, we can't service your car till Monday, but you're going to have to hang out over the weekend. So I stayed in a hotel for 2 nights, and I kind of wandered around that area, and there was a bookstore there nearby, and I went in and found some audiobooks, and I thought, an audiobook on my journey to Los Angeles. So I found one, and it was Robert Evans, The Kid Stays in the Picture. And I thought, oh my gosh, wow, that's great. I don't even know. Robert Evans, yeah, I think I know who he is. He produced The Godfather, that's right. So I took the book, and I get my car fixed on the Monday, and off I go. I'm continuing my journey to Los Angeles. And I put the tapes in, and I listened to it twice the entire time. I mean, I was just mesmerized. This guy went from kid to famous actor to running Paramount at 25 to producing The Godfather, producing Urban Cowboy, Chinatown. I mean, these incredible, and listening to his voice resonate was like hypnotic. I mean, I was like producing. That's the job, if there is one, that correlates and corrals all these passions. And I couldn't believe it. He answered my question. So I pulled up outside the house that I'm in now. I pulled up outside. My friend was living here at the time. I wasn't. I was going to stay on the couch. It's not there anymore, but there's another one there. But I was going to stay on that couch for like 2 weeks and figure out where I was going to stay. And I'm back in LA. Anyway, I walk up the stairs here, and I knock on the door, excited. The tape literally ended with Robert Evans saying, basically, do it, don't let anyone tell you can't do it. Go get them. That kind of raucous excitement at the end of an audio tape. Anyway, I knock on the door, and this girl answers the door, and I go, hello, is Adam here? And she's like, yeah, he's in the back room when I call. And my friend Adam managed this band 311 at the time, which is an American band. And I thought, wow, cool. Okay. And who are you? She goes, I'm Joe. I'm on the phone. Sorry, come on in. So she's on the phone. Walked in. I sit down on a couch here, and she says, as she's talking on the phone, like starts screaming to someone on the phone. I'm like, I have no idea who this beautiful hot model is standing in the living room here where I'm staying. Anyway, she hangs up the phone, and I go, are you okay? She goes, yeah, it's this guy Evans. He's ridiculous. I'm staying with him. He's just being a pain. I'm like, who's Evans? She goes, Robert Evans, the producer. And I go, is this a joke? I mean, wait, are you talking about the guy that made Chinatown, The Godfather? She said, yeah, why? I said, come on, you're kidding. You know him? You're living with him? She goes, well, I'm in one of his guest houses. And I'm like, right. Okay. I just listened to his book on tape twice across country. And it ended right here. And I came in realizing I want to be a producer. And you're on the phone with him. She goes, yeah, hold on. Redial. She calls him back. Evans, it's me, Joe. Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, can I bring, what's your name again? I say Orian. She goes, can I bring him to the party tonight? Yeah, I'll make sure he brings some wine. Okay, great. Yeah, fine. We'll see you in an hour. Adam walks out. Orian, welcome. I'm like, welcome. This is the biggest welcome of my life. And I couldn't believe it. So within an hour, I shower. We're in the car. Adam he was a music guy. Wasn't into the films and didn't know Robert Evans. He knew a little bit about him. But we drive up within 2 miles of where I live now. I live in the house now. And there he is. There's Robert Evans. He walks in, he introduces himself. He says, which one's the kid? Which one's the kid? And I'm like, I'm the kid. He's like, come here. And we walk up this hallway of all these photos. And anyway, it turned into one night a week for the next 5 weeks. I went over there, and he instilled in me to own the material, be passionate about what you do. Don't do it unless you really feel that this is something you want to see and that you feel the world wants to see and that lives on beyond your life. And he gave me a lot of advice. I didn't drink at the time. I barely drink now, but I drink. I had a shot with him and some other people in this party. And I said, listen, if I ever do a shot, Robert, I have to keep the glass. And he says, well, then keep that one. So I did a shot. And I still have, it's on my mantle right here. And it was just like, such an important moment because it made the intangible, the unexpected, possible. Not that I expected. By the way, I think you and I spoke once about how we have these moments in our life, but we don't, if you start to expect them and think that they happen naturally and it's always going to happen, they won't happen. And everyone says, Orian, come on. This happens to you all the time. I'm like, I know, but I'm still shocked. That one kind of put me on the map of realizing my future. And he gave me some advice over the next 5 weeks. Nicholson was there, Hoffman was there, you name it. Warren Beatty was there, and I was like, wow. These guys are real. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they say never meet your heroes. Was he the guy that you heard on the tape, cross country?
Bigger than that, more bigger. By the way, he was a hero, and within 8 hours, I was meeting him. So it wasn't like I had this expected, like one day I'm going to meet this guy. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know his life. I didn't know his path, his journey. I listened to it twice, and then I thought it's good for the knowledge, good for the brain. That's it. Oh wait, I'm at his house. I've always had that internal mechanism that says, hey, everything is an opportunity. Everything is a pathway forward. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. And it was proven in that moment that producing is what I need to do in my life. Now, it wasn't the typical job at a studio development executive working your way up the ranks because I didn't have that. I had never worked as a development kid, reading, you know what I'm saying? Reading scripts, and it was just finding some people that I wanted to know and people that I wanted to intermingle something with. Anton was my favorite photographer. I just wanted to work with him. Oh, it's about Joy Division, another band that I love. I was a bigger New Order fan than Joy Division, to be honest with you. I grew up in the 80s, so I was more New Order. But I wanted to know those guys, and I'd met them, but I didn't know them. And maybe I'd bring those guys together. Oh, and there's this book about Ian Curtis. Maybe I read that. And, oh, I like that. Let's do that. And so it became this thing that I sort of, and I think if Control had never been received as well as it had and has and still to this day, I think that I probably would still be figuring something out, but I'd be still very happy, doing whatever I'm doing.
How would you describe a producer? I've never asked another producer that. If there was a job description, it perplexes me because it has like 3,000 capabilities in any one moment, and everything flying at you. But if someone said like, what is a producer? How would you answer that?
Producers, I think there's various types of producers, but what I do is I come up with an idea or I find someone that has a spark of an idea, and you're the first on the film and you're the last to leave. I mean, in fact, it never leaves you. It's always with you. I mean, I still work, I still have emails and business conversations about Control to this day, or all the films on some level, not all of them, but, the majority of them. And, you're always kind of aligning the deal with some other distributor as the time period runs out for some other distributor. But I think producing is someone who's passionately motivated to bring something that's intangible to the screen, an idea, a book, a concept, something like that. You are responsible for finding the money, for finding the director, the writer. You're the cheerleader. There's never a no. You can always think of a reason why not to do it all day long. Like, I just don't want to think about it anymore. I want to move on. It's time to forget about that project. It keeps me up at night. But you're the only person keeping it. I mean, there were many times I would walk the streets of London thinking, you know what? I just want to go home. I've been here for a year. I was just tired, and I was living with people and doing a bunch of stuff. I was loving London, but I was just like, I just want to do something else. But then something would happen, a conversation. I'd walk a certain way and have a different, glance at myself, or a feeling or an emotion that made me think, keep pushing Control, keep pushing that film. And I'm always asking questions. Someone I was talking to the other day says, you've learned everything. I said, no, I'm still learning. I'm still figuring it all out. And I love that, because every film is different. Every project is different. Every pathway, there's no formula at all. You throw that out the window. That's the thing that's amazing.
And that has to excite you. It can't take you down a different track, because for some people, it's not exciting like it is for us. We love the variety, and the curveballs just make it even better, because there is not a curveball that we haven't caught and run with. Yeah. And when that's sort of inside of you, I think it's not that, I'd never say we're sort of invincible, but the whole sentiment around making the impossible possible, you can only say that when you've experienced it, because everybody else would have probably walked away long before you got something off the ground, and walked away from a suggestion that just felt impossible to put, something to pull off.
Most of my friends say that, Laura. They're like, you know what? I could never do what you do. I don't have the patience. I don't have the ability to listen to someone throw out the most asinine, ridiculous curveball, and you still catch it and run with it, and you keep and listen. On the inside, I'm going, On the outside, I'm like, okay, cool, we're gonna get through this, And it's not fake; it's real, because it makes other people. It's an infectious thing.
On the movies that you're producing, you really like to break the mold regarding how you approach the casting process and the kind of actors that you're looking for. And I wanted to ask, like, where does one start that sort of search? Is it a degree of separation? Do you sort of start within your existing network of friends and collaborators, or are you going to, far-reaching places that no man should ever go unless they're looking for an actor of a certain description?
Right. Well, casting is such a wonderful part of the process of developing a film, what I get really excited about. And I'm always looking for the obvious, non-obvious, perfect person, someone that exudes that. So you believe that the thing that worked so well with Sam Riley is that not many people, no one had seen him before. And a lot of people didn't know what Ian Curtis looked like, certainly in the States, but, people that were going to be visiting Joy Division for the first time had no clue. So they believed that this is the guy. And that process for me is never calculated.
Did you cast the band? Did you cast the actors? Were they already able to play the instruments?
The guitar player, James Anthony Pearson, had never touched a guitar in his life.
You're joking.
No, never touched one. He ended up playing everything that you hear, except for Love Will Tear Us Apart an instrumental, and atmosphere. He played everything that you see him playing. He played everything. Sam Riley was in a band called 10,000 Things. They had opened for a couple of cool bands. I think maybe even Oasis. I don't know, but they were from Leeds. They didn't have a huge success, but he knew how to sing. He was a front man and play guitar, but he never sang like Ian. Joe Anderson, the bass player that played hooky, didn't play bass, but played a little guitar. And Harry Treadaway played guitar and a few other instruments and could get through on the drums. The thing that was amazing about Harry is he was the heartbeat of the band. And playing Steve Morris is like, they called him the robot for a reason, you know. He was like so on it with and he was the heartbeat of truly making everything sound as authentic as possible. And he just practiced and practiced all day, all night during pre-production. And so they were, I mean, even New Order was like, they're better than us when we were at that time. They're better than we were.
That is insane. What was that window of pre-production? Sorry, I've got to get my head around this.
6 weeks.
They learned to play their instruments and all the songs in that period of time.
In less than that period of time. They showed up a couple of weeks later, and then they would James, who played Bernard, had never even touched a guitar.
It's probably more fun when you know exactly what you're looking for, because you know you're going to unapologetically get there. You're going to find what you're looking for. Yeah. It's the journey. The journey is what's going to be the best bit. That's the fun, it sounds like.
Always. The journey is so you have to remember that. That's the one thing I tell people is like, try to enjoy those ups and downs through the process. You know, one day it's going to happen. The film's going to be there. You're going to sit at the premiere. And, you know, when I first watched Control in Cannes in front of, 800 people, I continually thought about the journey, and what led me to those moments of, I'm not going to do it, or Anton's not going to do it, or he's going to say no, or he did say no. And, just so many things. It was a special thing. They all are. And you live for those moments. You live for that final countdown of like the screen goes black and then there it is. And there's nothing like it.
I feel incredibly excited for you as you're about to make your directorial debut on the Jeff Buckley biopic. And full disclosure, I'm a big Jeff Buckley fan.
Good.
I think I just need to get that out there. I'm not. Please, would you share with everybody how you got the call?
Yeah.
To be the director? And please, you just got to tell it exactly the way you told me, because it's just too special. It says everything about who you are as an artist, who you are as a producer, who you are as a human, and the world's got to hear it.
It's the Jeff Buckley story is quite special, and I'm not hesitant to tell it. I'm excited to tell it, but it's always like it feels premature because I still haven't made the movie yet. But because I feel like it's one of those things you're like, oh, let me tell you how it happened. Oh, here's the movie, and then we'll talk afterwards. I still haven't done it yet, but it's a wonderful thing because. And I never really anticipated being a director. I never really thought that I would. I mean, I knew I was creative. I mean, I'm a creative guy. I mean, my whole house is, photos and stuff that I take, and it's always sort of seeped into my my personal life and my work life, just things that I like and books and just an image that people would sometimes look at as like, I don't know, why is that cool? I don't know. And I'm like, well, let me tell you why. And it's sometimes what you don't see that makes it special. And I think that the Jeff Buckley, I've been working on it since I got the call to direct, to produce it in 2008, and that was from Jeff's mother and someone that was working with her at the time. Met her, and of course, from that moment on, which I could go into hours of conversation, but we went through various directors, and we were somewhat at an impasse with one director who felt right for so many reasons. Academy Award nominated, had a connection to Jeff. Jeff's favorite film was one that he made. There were so many wonderful connection points with that director. And I was hired to go, which is another crazy story, by a wonderful producer named Fred Roos, who's made every Coppola film and every Sofia Coppola film. And, The Conversation to Godfather, another Robert Evans type producer, but in a very different way. But he's been around for a long, long time. He gave Harrison Ford his start in the first film. I mean, he's this amazing, wonderful guy. He hired me on a film to go in Italy, and I went to Italy to shoot and produce this film. And we were there for 6 months, a long time. And during that process, we were shooting nights. And one evening, I get a call on my phone. I'm shooting nights. It's cold as hell. And this old castle in the middle of San Gimignano, Italy, which is quite remote. And I see that it's Jeff's mother calling. And I thought, okay, I'm going to answer it in the middle of the night. I mean, what am I going to say? So she calls, and Orian, I've got Allison on the phone, and we're all here. We wanted to talk to you and just see what's going on. And Allison seemed a little giddy. Allison runs Jeff's Buckley Music. She's Jeff's cousin and Mary's niece. And she says, we want you to get rid of the director. And I'm like, why? She's like, well, it's just not doing anything. I'm like, I know. He's been a little lazy for the past 3 years. I've been trying to get him, but let me try him one more time. She's like, no. We've decided on someone else. There's someone else we like, we love, we feel that has a great vision, that's more suitable and just, perfect for us, and we trust. And I'm like, who's that? And they're like, it's you. And I went, who's you? I didn't know who that would be. It's you, Orian. And I immediately went, okay. The producer in me was like, I'm going to get the movie made now. I'm going to find the money. I'm going to get a new script. I'm going to pull the right people together. I'm going to make this movie because I'm now in control with Mary's assistant, with Allison's assistants. Jeff's mother is Mary, as I said, and just, make it. But the next day during the day, I did not sleep. I thought, what does this mean? What does this mean for me and my mom and, other family members? And now I'm held accountable, as opposed to it's the director's fault, but hey, and now it's like, you're the guy in charge. But I also knew that I was not, it was a cleaner path of acceleration to get the film made. And I knew that I didn't have to wait for lawyers or managers or agents. I didn't need a deal right away. Most of those guys did. Those other previous guys wanted to have their deal set up. How much am I getting? I don't care. Mary loved that. She hates those people. She's, against them, not against them, but, we need them. But also when they become crazy against the project moving forward. So I remember taking a photograph. I was in this old little bitty opera, like 4-tiered, opera stage, theater. And I took a picture, and I still have that photo that I took in that moment. I hung up the phone. I took a photo, like, remember this place. This is important. And I haven't been there and probably never will go again. But I started immediately thinking, how do I get it going? And Mary seemed relaxed. Allison, they both seemed very like, we're going to make the movie. And I already had an actor. And that was Reeve Carney, and I knew that he was the only guy suitable. Mary's like, I'm making the movie with you, Orian, and Reeve, and us, or it's not happening. And that was 2 years ago, I think, maybe. And so we've got a new script, we got the money, and we start shooting in September. So I've been just like ready for that. And now I don't sleep. I really don't sleep because I'm thinking every day about, how's it going to look and how's it going to feel and what is the aesthetic and what am I going to do on set when I say roll camera or action or whatever, it's just, I'm usually the guy sitting in the background just making sure everything's okay. How you doing? Good stuff. You okay? You need anything? Now I'm going to be the one making the decisions, which is fine. I'm not nervous about it at all. I'm looking forward to it, but I still have to do it. And I think that I've assembled a wonderful team. Mary has assembled the best team ever in her mind to finally make the movie. She's waited a long time for this. I mean, it may have seemed right back when some A-level actors were on board and people that were producing it, but it's kind of evolved to this place of just the essence of what control was in a way,
She trusts you, Orian. She trusts you.
Yeah, I think that's it.
What a project. What a project.
It's pretty great. I'm ready to see it happen and come to life, and I'm going to do it as such a wonderful creative aesthetic to how I see the film coming to the screen, and the people that I'm surrounding it will certainly make it look and sound and feel authentic. I don't want it to feel like any other, as much as Control was sort of a stepping away from the typical. I mean, there weren't many biopics of musicians back then. I think that opened a doorway a little bit. There were a few, but I think Control opened the doorway a little bit. And the way that Anton made that film, he sat on the sofa and said, "I want to shoot it in black and white." And I'm like, thank God, As a producer, I'm like, well, it's going to be a little difficult to get sales and distribution, but who cares? I mean, it's trust.
Passion.
And without question, persistence and passion, sticking with it till the end and keeping passionate, motivated is just the key elements. And then, what happens from there is not something you can explain. You can kind of give life to these stories, but I could never have anticipated it by no means.
Orian, how much creative license do you have, or can you have, with a film on the life of Jeff Buckley?
Well, you want it to be as authentic as possible, but we're pulling a lot of the storyline from his own journals. I have all of his journals, and that's what's been the missing component. So his lyrics, his words are the quotes in the film of voiceover and whatnot. So we're coming from him. I didn't want the movie to be about him, and we're sort of like, oh, let's watch Jeff Buckley's life unfold or come to rise. Let's let it come from him. He would want to tell his own story. And I have the book here. His mother released, and David Brown, an author, released a beautiful book of his journals about a year ago. And it's just, you see his etchings and his drawings and where he was thinking and what he was going. And we've implemented a lot of those passages into the film, and it's built the storyline. So it's as authentic as it can be. We don't need to derive from that or separate from that. We want to tell the story as if he would probably want to tell it himself. We'll see.
I can't wait. I can't wait to. Your story will resonate with so many people. There's so many elements of it. It's magical. Your story is so magical. And on top of that, there are so many elements that will speak to and resonate with anyone and everyone out there listening. The self-belief, the endurance, the highs and lows, the right place at the right time, undeniable passion, having the most wonderful temperament and ability to be everywhere, but not be felt, to be seen and not felt in a room, to be able to sort of fly under the radar and then sort of come out very gently when you need to and sort of pick those moments or have those conversations. And I'm really excited for you.
The response and the reaction when the announcement went live that I was directing it made it feel very real. It was like, I'm not hiding it anymore. I'm always so protective of like, I'm directing this. I've never been that guy. Or even I'm producing this. I'm just like, hey, I'm working on this project and it's kind of cool and hopefully we'll see. But then when it's announced, then the world knows and they have their own reaction, and the response and the reaction that we got, not because I'm directing it, but I think because people are seeing that they're going to finally see a movie about their hero or someone that they don't even know much about, but they love the music, or they've heard Hallelujah 14 million times and that's all they know. So that's what's exciting, to be able to tell Jeff's story with the support of his mom and his words, and the music. The music is there, which is really a key component. This is the first time. And I have 14 other films that I'm producing as well. Actually, way more than that, but 14 that are sort of circulating. So I'm trying to push those aside, even though it's really difficult, and focus on this thing that I'm directing, It's funny. You can keep a lot of, you can spin a lot of plates as a producer and keep a lot of projects in the air and they always sort of surface. But when you're directing, you got to really focus and just kind of put all your energy into it, because this is it. This is the time to make it perfect, and you have one shot. So I'm gearing up for that isolation in my head, at least, to try to do it. But then I go on to a film I'm producing right afterwards. It's going to be big, and then another one in Japan, and it's like, boom, just so I'm going to try to.
What are those next projects?
Well, let's see. One I can't announce yet, but it's going to announce. It's just a really amazing group of people that I'm really excited about, but it's going to be announced really soon. But I can tell you about a couple others. I have a Syd Barrett film, a documentary that's pretty much done. Roddy Bagawa is a director that we made a film about Storm Thurgerson, the hypnosis guy who did a lot of the Pink Floyd stuff and Led Zeppelin album covers. He passed away. Made a little film about him, and then now we're doing the Syd Barrett documentary, which is going to come out at some point this year, and it's pretty much in its final stages of post, and it's really cool. I'm doing a film about a Japanese photographer named Masahisu Fukasi, and he was famous for taking many different types of photos of ravens or cats or his girlfriend Yoko or himself, and he kind of had mental illness. He drank a lot, and he died quite young. And that film is set to go in March. I'm releasing this film, Creation Stories, about Alan McGee, that just came out. That was really fun. That came out in England about a month ago, and it's coming out in the States.
Ago.
Yeah, and that was Danny Boyle was a producer. A girl named Shelley Hammond brought me onto the film like 7 years ago and said, if I ever get the rights and pull this together, you want to produce it with me? I'm like, sure. And so I did. And that stars Ewan Bremner. Irvin Welsh wrote the script. Alan McGee was a big supporter. But that's, Oasis, My Bloody Valentine, Jesus and Mary Chain, Primal Scream. And it's a fun, journey through Alan's life. And certainly England, Scotland, in the time of the insane drugs and ecstasy culture. It's pretty wild, but it's a fun little movie.
I got to see that. 150%. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for joining us this week. If you like what you just heard, follow us, give us a review and send it to a friend. Say hello on socials at Creative Blood Agency and use the hashtag CreativeBloodPod. And a special thank you to Natalie Knudsen for the intro to Orian. This episode was produced by Josie Coulter, engineered and mixed by Ben Beheshti, artwork designed by Sarah Thompson, music by Ben Tarrant Brown, and presented by me, Laura Conway.